Hi everybody, it's Manucha for Moms and Crafters, and here I have the Clawlab tufting kit. You can see that I have a project on here already. That's in a separate video to be shared. Meaning I already shared it, but now at this time that I'm recording, it's to be shared, so here we go. I want to use the open areas because once you take this off, you can't really use the scraps. So I want to use the open area, so I want to show you a fun project that you can do with that and to use up smaller skeins of yarn. So here I have the pink and red colors that came with my tufting kit. And I'm going to make a bunch of little hearts and I'm going to turn them into cute little keychains. Now, tufting small is much harder than tufting large because you have to get this tiny little detail in, but I kind of want to show this to you as a craft. In all the little spaces, we're going to be drawing little hearts. Now, it's very easy to by mistake go too big on these. These can actually also be used as patches for backpacks. You'll just need to put adhesive iron-on backing on it. And we're going to just make a bunch of little heart keychains. So we're threading up our tufting gun. We're going to go on a really slow speed for the outline of all of these. All right, so this is just a fun way to sort of use up the outlines of your, the in-between. This is the Clawlab tufting gun. I have a review of it. Links in the description of this video, all affiliate links. I get a small commission that helps me put out this kind of content and fund the supplies and support my family. And we're going really slow because this is detailed. And we're just going around the edges. Now, the cool thing about this tufting gun is that because it's so lightweight, you can go around the curve like that. When you're doing a complicated thing like this, you really do want it on the lowest speed. I'm actually gonna, you know what? I'll leave it on the lowest speed for outlining all of them. Now you might not want to try going around the whole curve of the heart. You might prefer to go back up from the bottom at some point, at the center point. Depends on the height of the heart on the canvas. I like calling it a canvas. Feels like a canvas. People make real art with this. All right, so we've outlined our hearts. The bottom ones were definitely easier, and I realized that the top fabric is still usable, so I shouldn't have gone any higher than my letters because that's sort of where I would have cut it off, but it's fine, so I used a little extra fabric. It's totally fine, but definitely the top letters, the bottom ones were much easier to do. Now, we are increasing the speed to about midway. I can't go too fast because it is very small. And we're just moving up in lines and filling this in nice and plush. Now, if you do lose definition because it's so small, you can literally pull some out. Like, for example, over there in the peak of the heart. I can also shave it to look cleaner, but look how cute that heart is. Look how cute. I love it. I'm loving this idea. That's what we have left. So we're going to fill in purple. So we've done all of these. I actually really like the solid pink ones a lot better, so we'll see. Now, before you glue, you do want to kind of pull out the extra threads. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want your thing to actually get bald, but this will really get in the way of your gluing. So you should still have a good running thread, otherwise you didn't tuft enough. All right, so we have our latex adhesive and we have a little scrap of cardboard. We're gonna scoop a little bit up like that and scrape it over the whole surface, including the border. You don't want it too thick, it's already gonna take forever to dry. Although they do say to be generous, not skimpy with this, so pick your battles. But there we go, and now we're gonna let it dry for a few days before we dare to cut it out. I'm gonna work on this early next week and finish this. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to finish off these hearts. Here we have two different styles. You can see that it is quite undefined. But I'm going to show you this is a heart that's totally finished, completed. I think I did overshave a little bit. By shave, I mean with scissors. And here's one that I just trimmed out. I think it's a better trim. So I'm going to show you how I do this. So we fired up the glue gun and you can see we cut this out and we cut notches along the edges. So I'm actually going to show you how I do that. I realize I do have more hearts to show you on. So for scissors, I do recommend having good fabric scissors. This set, I don't know if they still have it, but something similar, even just 2 sizes is great. They're great fabric scissors. And then you have different sizes for detail, for threads, for stuff like that. But you still have the big ones. The big ones do work significantly more. So you're cutting it out with a bit of a border. You can definitely go like a little more neatly around the edges if you want to. But then we're going to cut notches. Now you do want a notch at like every sort of corner of your piece. So anywhere you would want it to, not, it would need to curve around. And because it's curved, you're going to want definitely a bit of a higher frequency of notches. Go all the way up until the stitching, the border that you can see there, but not like over it. All right, so there we have it. Hopefully our glue gun is hot enough. I may burn myself once or twice. Be careful when using a glue gun. And we're just gluing down the edges. So obviously you could trim it further, like something like that. I might normally want to trim a little bit more. This is actually the scissors that I want. Trim a bit more. There we go. This is a great glue gun, by the way, for detail work. It's not fully cordless, like it's not heating itself up. Right now, you do have to occasionally put it back on the dock to, gain a little more charge, so to speak. But especially for like this kind of detail work, I actually really like this. They use their standard mini high temp glue sticks. It's a high temp glue gun. It's not a low temp, so it glues very, very well. Now over here by the corner where you have points like that, you will want to trim that down. Otherwise it'll add bulk where you don't want bulk. So you could cut it at an angle there. So we're doing a little more over there. A little more over there. All right, now it's time to trim this thing down, give it a little haircut. I don't have an actual trimmer for rugs, so basically I'm sort of pushing everything out and I'm not gonna cut it all off. I'm just gonna make that border shape neater, trim around the border of the heart. Now this is where it's gonna get a little bit scary, but you are going to want to go in there and define that a little bit. And we're kind of just defining the shape of the heart. So now we have a better heart shape. So now you can choose how much you want to do. Now on the ones without the different colored border, it actually looks very good like this. It's like super shaggy. It's like a shaggy rug versus a non-shaggy rug. So I'm just kind of going in the spots that are super uneven, I'm fixing. But I think I like it like this. So now I'm going to quickly do this one just so that I could show you. It is still tacky, the glue. I'm assuming that's supposed to be that way, but I have no idea. It's been a while. I'm going to go around the edge. Now you can just sort of, if you could work quickly, if you want, you can just sort of glue around the edge and then glue down the borders. You might find that easier. I feel like some of my glue is going to dry before I use it. I'm just trying to be lazy so I could get to the tutorial quickly. Try not to burn myself. Now, any shag that gets folded over, you kind of do want to put back to the top. Okay, this wasn't smart. Definitely do a piecemeal. I'm just getting glue all over myself. All right, so we have this heart ready to trim. So we're going to start with the same thing. Now, keep in mind, if you take off too much of the pink, you're going to end up with an inconsistent border. So you want to take off some, but not too much. So we're going to start by just, making that border even. If you see a thread that's sort of like out of place, you could just snip it at the base. So like over here. But we are actually going to get to that. Into the notch. You can see that my border is a bit sparse. I was kind of doing these rushed. All right, so now we have this. So you kind of have different ways you could go with this. You could trim it down. What I did was I sort of like smoothed the purple out and then I cut at an angle like this, trying to get only purple and not pink because I can't really afford to lose more pink. You sort of stick your scissors in underneath, you slide it. If you miss some purples, and this will help define the border. And once you sort of like separate it better, it'll be easier to sort of carve it into, sculpt it into the right shape. You could see the difference between the part that I trimmed and the part that I didn't. And so you could see that afterwards you can just go like this and round it off a little bit more. And once you have that definition, it's easier to just carve it literally with a pair of regular fabric scissors. Now you may at this point decide that you want to, trim off a bit more from your border or comb it out or separate the fiber so you have less of a scraggly border. I probably should have doubled up on my pink yarn for the border. But once you have that definition between the pink and the purple, you can more easily trim it to a good shape. All right, so this is basically it. You could do more, you could do less. You could see this one is somewhere in between. This one I did a lot more. I might want to work on this a lot more, so I'm not going to finish this one off yet, but I will finish off this one. Sorry, that one's already finished. I'm going to finish off this one just to show you. Take a screw-in eye. The reason you want a screw-in eye is because the screw does give it traction, that it'll stay. Oh, my gun wasn't on the base. Putting plenty of glue. Embedding that in, but making sure it sticks up and even covering it with more glue because you want it to really be strongly in there. Drowning in the glue. So we have coordinating felt. My daughter actually used a lot of it for another project, so we don't have that much left. And I'm just going to glue this right on. I'm not trying to trace or anything. I'm going to go all the way up on the edge, as deep down as I want it to be glued. So wherever you want it to be glued, that's where you're going until with your glue. So I'm going all the way to the edge. And here it does make sense to put all the glue on at once. And if a little bit dries early, you can always just touch it up. So now we are going to go like that. I do recommend, if you don't want to burn yourself, to wear something on your hands, because when you're doing this much gluing, you're inevitably going to burn some fingers. All right, so we have this glued on. And now we are simply going to very carefully pull this back like this so that I could see where I need to cut clearly. That's how you're going to get clear cuts. And you're going to go along it and trim it as neatly as possible. So again, if these come out polished enough, I will be hopefully using them as party favors. So far, it's borderline. Again, if I would make my shapes, if I would have sort of traced my shapes and then I could have cut the backings on my Cricut, I could have had a much more polished result, but I'm trying to do this, you know, sort of a little more freeform, hands-on. I drew the hearts myself. I'm now sort of tracing it that way. Again, if you cut off too much, the backing is going to start to show. Not awful, but definitely not as polished. So again, cut off pieces as you go along so you could see better. And we're folding this back. What I think I'm going to do is just, see, I started cutting into my actual heart because I didn't have the felt folded back. So that is an important way to do it. All right, now I could polish it up. I could trim it up a bit more. And then we're very simply just going to attach a keychain to the eye that is sticking out. And that is all. All right, so I think these did come out super cute. Look how cute they are. They are soft. Little kids love this type of thing. I really like the ones with the border better, so that was a happy mistake. I have to decide if I'm going to do the rest of them and offer them as party favors or not. It's a big decision because I'm short on time. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, hit the like button. You can find all the links to materials that I used in the description of this video, along with a full blog post with written instructions. And if you enjoyed this, let me know what you want to see me make next. Make sure you subscribe and follow along for more like this.